What's going on, guys? Kevin here from thesportsgeek.com, and in this video, I'm going to go over my DraftKings and FanDuel NFL Week 9 picks. All right, so before we move on to Week 9, let's take a look back at some picks from Week 8. First of all, if you guys haven't already seen it, I did a video on my second YouTube channel. I'll link to it in the YouTube description below. I came 15th in the Millie Maker contest, almost finished in the top 5, and I went over that lineup and how I created it and the picks I used in that video. So check it out if you haven't already. Week 8 was definitely my best week since Week 1 of the NFL season. Let's take a look at the picks from last week's video. So on the left-hand side there, you can see my solid picks. We had a really good week this week. QB Carson Palmer put up 27 points. Devontae Freeman with 21. Quincy Enunwa was a cheap receiver. He put up 19. John Brown was another cheap value receiver. He put up 14 points. Travis Kelce was my favorite tight end of the week. He put up 26 points. And then a value defense that I picked last week was the Chargers, and they put up 13 points. So really good week. And then I did have some bad picks as well. We had Mike Evans only put up 11 points. He was a popular play that disappointed a lot of us. My risky tight end play was Zach Ertz. He put up 5.9 points, so that was disappointing. And then Spencer Ware was one of my favorite running backs. I think I had him the most in my Millie Maker lineups, and he got injured. I think he put up about 7 points, but that was unfortunate that he got injured. But overall, very good week, as you can see with all the solid picks listed on the left-hand side. And also make sure that you sign up for my email updates. I usually give out more picks or updates to my picks Saturday or Sunday morning. So if you haven't already signed up for that, click on the lineup tool link in the YouTube description below. And then as always, I like to give some props to people who follow these videos and did well themselves on DraftKings or FanDuel. We have 2 this week. On the left-hand side there, we have Euchreman. He finished 7th out of 1,800 people. He took down $200 off of a $9 entry. And then on the right-hand side, we had Fat Mike. He said he was able to place 52nd in the DK Millie Maker. He turned $20 into $1,000. So congrats to you two guys. Congrats to everyone else who emailed me who didn't get up here. And if you didn't win in Week 8, hopefully Week 9 is your week. All right, so on to my DraftKings and FanDuel NFL Week 9 picks. Starting off with a quarterback wide receiver stack, we got Dak Prescott from the Cowboys, $6,100 on DraftKings, paired with his number 1 receiver, Dez Bryant, who's $7,400 on DraftKings. The Cowboys are in Cleveland versus the winless Browns as 7.5-point favorites, and we've got a high total set at 48.5 points. And it's also interesting to note that this total has moved up 2 points since opening up at 46.5, so a lot of money is coming in on the over. Prescott has put up 18 or more DraftKings points in every game since Week 2, with his highest 28.3 DraftKings points last week during Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. Now he faces Cleveland, who ranks 31st in yards against per play and dead last in passing yards against per attempt. Dez Bryant returned from injury, catching just 4 balls on Sunday night, but he was targeted 14 times and had 113 yards and a touchdown for 24.3 DraftKings points. So he's got a great matchup against the Browns. He might be guarded or shadowed by Joe Hayden, but I still think he can have a big game, and his price is too cheap there at $7,400 on DraftKings. I think this is a good pairing for tournaments and maybe even cash games as well. So last week in the YouTube comments, someone asked me to provide a few more sleeper picks. So each week I try to incorporate at least a couple sleeper picks or low-owned players in my videos. But this week I decided to do sleeper picks for each stack. So we've got wide receiver Terrence Williams at 3,700. He should be under 5% owned. Terrence Williams had 11 or more DraftKings points in 4 straight games before last week. And while Dez Bryant did return last week, Williams still had 7 targets, but caught just 2 of them. So his fantasy production dropped, but he was still getting the targets with Dez back. So it looks like he will continue to get quite a few targets. And with Joe Hayden on Dez this week, most likely, Williams might see a good number of targets again. So he could be a good sleeper pick this week, and $3,700 is a cheap price. So I think I'll throw him in a couple lineups with Prescott. My next stack here is quarterback Sam Bradford from the Vikings. He's $5,000 on DraftKings, and you can see I have a little star beside the $5,000. He's much cheaper on DraftKings compared to FanDuel, so that's where I'll be playing him. And I'm going to pair him up with his number 1 receiver, Stephon Diggs, who's $5,900 on DraftKings. The Vikings are at home versus the Lions as 6.5-point favorites. The Lions are 28th in yards against per play and 26th in passing yards against per attempt. This is a risky play as Bradford doesn't have more than 19.1 DraftKings points in a game yet this year, but this is by far his best matchup to have a big game. Diggs has seen 5 or more targets in every game played and has put up 20 or more DraftKings points in 3 of his 6 games played. And if Darius Slay is out again this week for the Lions, Diggs should have a great matchup versus the Lions cornerbacks. So I think this is a good tournament stack, and it should be lower owned, probably lower than 10% owned. So in a good matchup and cheap prices, I really like this stack this week. My sleeper pick for that stack is going to be Adam Thielen, who's $3,800 on DraftKings. Thielen is the clear number 2 receiver in Minnesota with 88% and 89% of the snaps played the last 2 weeks, and he has seen 5 or more targets in 5 of his 7 games played. He only has one good fantasy scoring game where he put up 28.7 DraftKings points when Diggs was out, but if Slay is matched up with Diggs, then Thielen could get extra targets this week. So watch for that news. If Darius Slay is playing, he's probably going to be shadowing Diggs. That could open up some room for Thielen, and then that would make him a pretty solid sleeper pick, in my opinion. First running back of the week is going to be Jay Ajayi from the Dolphins. He's $6,000 on DraftKings. The Dolphins are at home versus the Jets as 3.5-point favorites, and the Jets rank second in yards against per rushing attempt, which makes this more of a risky tournament play. But Ajayi is coming off of games where he rushed the ball 25 and 28 times for a ridiculous 204 and 214 yards and 31 and 36 DraftKings points. And to make things even better, Arian Foster just retired, making it clear that Ajayi is going to get massive workloads for the Dolphins. He'll probably be a popular play coming off those 2 big games, but maybe some people will shy away given the matchup. I'll still be on him at just $6,000 on DraftKings, and he's one of my favorite running backs this week. Another receiver pick here is Willie Snead from the Saints at $5,800. The Saints are at San Fran as 3.5-point favorites with a high total of 52 points, which is the second highest total on the Sunday slate. If you take out the 2 games where he was dealing with a foot injury, Snead has seen 7 or more targets in each game. He also put up 35 DraftKings points in week 1 and has 2 other decent games with 16 and 17 DraftKings points. The 49ers struggle more versus the run, but they still rank just 19th in passing yards against per attempt. So I think Breeze will be throwing it around quite a bit, and I like Willie Snead at $5,800. My favorite tight end play of the week is going to be Kyle Rudolph from the Vikings. He's $4,000 on DraftKings. The Lions are giving up 1 touchdown per game to tight ends on average this season, which is easily the most in the NFL. Rudolph has seen 6 or more targets in 6 of his 7 games played and double-digit targets twice. He has scored 3 touchdowns already this year, and in a juicy matchup versus the Lions, he could get his 4th touchdown this weekend. He's also scored double-digit DraftKings points in 5 of 7 games played, so he's going to be probably the clear-cut number 1 tight end option of the week, probably be around 20 to 30% owned, but I'll definitely have quite a few shares of Rudolph this week myself. Then I've got 4 more DraftKings and FanDuel NFL Week 9 picks here. Starting off, we got running back Carlos Hyde from the 49ers. He's $6,100 on DraftKings. After sitting out Week 7 and a bye week last week, Hyde appears ready to go for a good Week 9 matchup with the Saints. New Orleans is ranking 31st in DraftKings points allowed against running backs. If we exclude the Week 6 game where Hyde was injured, he has scored an average of 19 DraftKings points in their first 5 games. And as long as we don't hear anything about him being limited, I'll be playing quite a bit of Hyde in Week 9. One of my favorite wide receiver plays this week is going to be Jordy Nelson from the Packers. He's $7,800 on DraftKings. He might not be the most productive receiver in Green Bay so far this year, but he continues to be a touchdown producer. In 7 games played, Nelson has 6 touchdowns and has double-digit DraftKings points in 6 games as well. He only has 1 game over 20 DraftKings points, which worries me a little bit, but I think the matchup is right against the Colts, who rank 30th in yards against per play, so I'll be pretty confident rostering quite a bit of Nelson this week. Another tight end option I like this week is Austin Hooper from the Falcons. He's $2,500 on DraftKings. Atlanta is in Tampa Bay on Thursday night, so this is a Thursday to Monday slate play only, but it's definitely worth checking out as value tight ends are pretty hard to come by this week. Falcons starting tight end Jacob Tamme has been ruled out, and Hooper will become the starter. He's been targeted 11 times this year, catching all 11 passes for 195 yards and a touchdown. And when Tamme got injured last week, Hooper went on to catch 5 passes for 41 yards. The Bucs ranked 27th in passing yards against per attempt, so I think this is a good spot for Hooper to have a pretty good game. And then for defense/special teams, we've got the Steelers at $2,900 on DraftKings. For these videos, I will continue to try and find a lower priced value defense to play each week. And this week, my favorite defense under $3,000 is the Steelers. They're playing a divisional game in Baltimore, and when these 2 teams play, we often see defensive battles. The Vegas total reflects that, set at just 43 points, despite a good chance that Big Ben is back for Pittsburgh. So Vegas is expecting a low-scoring game. And that's usually what we see from these two teams. And Joe Flacco has been known to turn the ball over. He already has 3 games with multiple interceptions. I wouldn't want too much exposure to the Steelers DST option this week, but it's definitely my favorite value pick under 3,000. All right, so those are my FanDuel and DraftKings NFL Week 9 picks. If you want to win more money at DraftKings or FanDuel this year, I highly recommend you check out the tools at Fantasy Labs, the best tools out there in my opinion. I'll leave a link to Fantasy Labs in the YouTube description below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up or like button. It will help support my YouTube channel and let me know that you want me to keep making videos like this. As always, guys, good luck in your contest this week. Hope you make some money. Cheers. If you don't want to miss out on any videos that I post, I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. To do that, just click on this button over here. Or if you want to watch another one of my videos that I think you'll enjoy, click on the video image over here.